राष्ट्रीय ज्योतिष पटलेखन Sampadan Karyashala. These workshops were organized by MSP and the Rashtriya Shikshan Samsthan New Delhi at its Bhopal campus. He has published 17 books. All of them have been published by the MSP and Rashtriya Shikshan Samsthan New Delhi under his coordination. Dr. Mishra.
योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम् नमः सभायै साध्यक्षायै श्यामस्य पुण्यक्षेत्रे अस्मिन् अयं श्यामदेवः भवतः सर्वान् प्रणमति. My topic is Origin of Stars and Planets in Ancient Indian Texts, with a special reference to Vedas. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know, India is one of the most incredible country that bewilders, that stupefies the world by her antique and impeccable knowledge, which is inextricably interlinked abhivinyast with dharma. And as we know, dharma is yato bhyudaya nishreyasa siddhi. I mean, those means by which we can attain mortal and eternal perfection or siddhi can be represented by dharma. This extraordinary, magnificent ideology, I mean, mingling each other, dharma and shastra, makes Indians and their wisdom far more superior from rest of the world. That's why the supreme quest of any text, whether it belongs to science and technology or philosophy or arts, whatever, the prime quest is to achieve paramatattva, that is intuitive apprehension, realization, sakshatkar of supreme entity by mortal and immortal perfection. And all these can be done by three upayas, expedients: Adhi Bhautika, Adhi Daivika, Adhyatmika. And as we know, Adhi Bhautik means by materialistic means to gain materialistic things. Adhi Daivika by materialistic means to gain immaterialistic things like bhakti. And Adhyatmik by spirituality to gain spirituality. This trinity of upayas is well propounded by Lord Sri Krishna in Srimad Bhagavad Gita in Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga respectively. Hence, in Vedas and Puranas and in any Indian text, all interlaced with the trinity, with the triad of these expedients, so subsidence of any one of them can hamper the process to realize, to intuitively realized or well understood the parameter of that particular science. And same thing applies for cosmology as well. Cosmology, as we know, is the science which deals with the origin of universe and its elements like stars and planets, etc. Is moreover a transcendental science. And because it is transcendental, it is imperceptible. Atindriya jnana vishayatvam, atindriya jnana gocharatvam, asya cosmology iti vijnanasya. And because of its imperceptibility, the principles of cosmology are in implicit form in Vedic mantras, and those hymens symbolically expressed those principles. And for that, as I said, we have to go through all these three upayas, what ancient sages has done. And as far as I could found, at least more than 200 hymens there are who propound the theory of cosmology in Vedas. I'll present some of them in front of you. And before I could say Vedic model, Vedic paradigm of cosmology, I must say something about modern cosmology. As we know, before Einstein, the static galaxy is the origin. I mean, the cosmologists thought that the static galaxy is the origin of universe, and after Einstein, when he propounded the general theory of relativity in 1917, uh, in which he gave that cosmological constant kind of thing, and said that universe either expands or shrinks. And on the basis of his theory of singularity, Edwin Hubble expounded the expansion theory of universe. And if, according to Einstein, if we could travel back through the time, there must be a zero point of origin where matter and energy absorbs with each other. Scientists called it singularity. And according to the theory of singularity, universe originated in 10 to the power minus 4 second, when all matters collapsed inwards in the smaller and denser point, that is called singularity, and the temperature at that time was 10 billion degree and density was 4000 metric ton in 1 centimeter cube. At that time, not even a single nucleus was formed. And after the Big Bang, this unified condensed matter started expanding and passed through quantum stage, quark soup, etc., and at the standard era. At this state, churning started among the 8 particles like electrons, protons, neutrons, etc., and antiparticles, and radiation energy as well. And this Big Bang started expansion of universe in circular motion, and after 30 minutes, a compound of helium and hydrogen formed, which known as cosmic matter. And after million years, when temperature decreased up to 4000 degree, the atom formed, which started the process of formation of heavenly bodies like stars and planets. This is the modern cosmological theory. And before I could say something about Vedic theory, Vedic model, I must say something about the circular model of universe, which is described in Vedas. In Rig Veda, there is a hymn, Sapta yunjanti rathameka chakram eko ashvo vahati sapta nama trinabhi chakram ajaram anarvam yatrema vishwa bhuvanadhitasthu. Rathameka chakram. Eka chakram, this card, this universe is a card, and Sapta yunjanti, where 7 components are implied. So this universe, which has multiple compound or 7 compounds, is a monovelar card, and because it is card and it must have a circular motion, and that's what we say nicher gacchati prajadasha chakrane mikramena, and because it's card, it has to be changeable. And this card has 2 circles. One is cognitive and the second is nemi or outer circle. In the cognitive, in the inner circle, it says, and what 7 components are: earth or prithvi, solid state; water or jal, liquid state; energy or shakti, that's light; air or vayu, that gaseous state; sky or akash; interstellar space or dik; age of universe or srishtikal as samvatsar. These 7 components are in the universe. And the inner circle which has aditi, that is combination of 3 bindings. Trinabhi chakram iti tatra uktam. Trinabhi. Nabhi, the root na, nah, is in bandhane. So the 3 bindings of eternal, perpetual entities, substances called as Mitra, Varun and Aryama in that Mulat Satta Aditi. So this hymen also predicates the principal law of equivalence of mass energy relation, that whole universe is driven by one energy, that is Asva Shakti. That's what it tells. Ashvo Vahati Saptanama. So Ashva Shakti, beyond this energy there is constant fundamental perpetual energy or Mool Adya Shakti Aditi, combination of 3 constant eternal matters, that is the base of origin of universe. Now I will present the abridged form of Vedic model of cosmology. According to Vedas, any substance of universe has five primordial stages through which it exists in its present form. I'll say that those steps one by one. Aditi. Aditi is the ultimate perpetual and balanced entity, Mula Satta, in the center of Nabhi Chakra. It is described as Brahmi Sthiti. It sustains in the twilight of universal creation or dissolution. It is the fundamental cause of creation. It consists of three eternal substances called as Mitra, Varun, and Aryama in equilibrium. The first is, and mind it, this Aditi is Mula Satta, it's not a stage. The first stage is called as Apaha. It is the active stage of, it is the primary active stage of Aditi. And where all these three primitive substances became active, which resulted in the imbalancing, in the imbalance among these. This Apaha stage exists in the outer circle of Nabhi Chakra. Apaha is called as Mahat Tattva in Indian philosophy. And after this Apaha, where all these primitive substance, Mitra, Varun, and Aryama became active and perturbed and resulted into collision, that's what we called Big Bang or supernova, they produced liquid through which it expanded overwhelmingly, which is the next stage called as Vrihati Apaha. In present, cosmologists called this Vrihati Apaha or liquid as plasma or quark soup, which is absorbable or useful, hence ideal in the process of origin. After Vrihati Apaha, nucleus formed in the next stage called Apam Napat. This is the third stage, Apam Napat, which is the nucleus stage. In Vedic paradigm, it is the third orbit around Nabhi Chakra. And it is the stage after Vrihati Apaha or plasma where matters are unstable and inconsumable. It is the pre-stage of Ardha Garbhaha or ion or Paramanu Avastha, thus can be compared to cosmic matter. Fourth stage is called as Sapta Ardha Garbhaha, as the substance formed in this stage has 7 elements. In this stage, ions formed by the nucleus, thus called ionic stage, transitory stage or Paramanu Avastha in modern science. Transitory and Ardhagarbha has the same sense. It is well known fact that Mendeleev periodically classified the iron into 7 states. This Paramanu Tattva is called as Tanmatra in philosophy. In last circle around Nabhi Chakra, there is Jagat Tattva, visible entity of universe, which is the compository form of 7 elements. So, the period of creation known as Samvatsar in Veda and the activation of Aditi or the commencement of creation, which is symbolized by Ushakal, and the origin of Hiranyagarbha or supernova is the starting point of Brahmadina. By the transmigration of Aditi from stage 1 to 5, it transformed into visible universe. This is the period of Brahmadin, and the regaining Mula Tattva by the reverse process occurs universal dissolution or Pralaya or Brahmaratri. So, according to Vedas, substance always exists in any of these 5 stages, which means substance never destroys, it just changes in another form according to various stages. This is the abridged model of Vedic cosmology. Now I'll take, how much time I have left? Okay. Now I'll take one by one elaborately. First, Aditi. Since creation and dissolution is an eternal process of the God, the efficient cause of or his Shakti or fundamental power Aditi is also eternal. Etymology of Aditi reveals its nature and work. Aditi, where prefix A is Nishedharthak, means something that negates. The root Da has two meanings. First is da avakhandane, separation, and when we add negate the prefix a, na vidyate khandanam yasya. So something that negates the separation or inseparable is called aditi. The second meaning derives from root ad bhakshane, means to swallow or engulf. With prefix a, it means something that cannot be swallowed or absorbed or consumed. Thus aditi, the ultimate initial cause of creation, is inseparable and inconsumable eternal entity of God. This hymen describes that ultimate initial cause of Adya Shakti. Agnirva Prithvi Vishwajanye Abhati Devi Amrite Amuraha Kshayan Vajai Purushchandro Namobhihi. Agni, or the fundamental cause, Amuraha, like sapient by divine benignity, Vishwajanye Devi, generator of the world or universe, Amrite Dyava Prithvi Abhati, generates or illumines Dulok and Bhulok. Katham Vajaihi, by strength. Athacha Katham Namobhihi, by energy of food. Purushchandraha, illuminates variously, and that primitive ultimate cause, Kshayan, Vyapnoti, pervading across the universe. The fundamental cause, power like a sapient generator of the universe, generates or lights Dulok and Bhulok by its strength and energy. Its luminosity pervades the universe. This is Aditi. Mata Devanam Aditehe Anikam Yagyasya Ketur Brihati Vibhahi. Actually, there is a tale in Aitareya Akhyayika, in Aitareya Brahmana, about Aditi. It says that Yagyo vai devebhyah upakramata te deva na kinchan ashaknuvan kartum na prajananste abruvan aditim tvaya imam yagyam prajanameti ya tatha iti abravit sa vai vo varam vrina iti vrinishva iti sa etameva varam avranit mat prayana yagyaha santu madudayana iti tatha. Atra yajna or creation, this is the bhashya in English. Yajna or creation went to devas. They couldn't do or understand anything. They invoked Aditi and said that by your gracefulness we could able to understand this yajna or srishti. She spoke, okay, but I want a boom. They said, ask for that. She said, may this yajna or srishti originate from me and absorbed in me. The central idea of this story is that Aditi, or fundamental physical reality, is the mother cause of creation and annihilation. In present science, it is called as principal matter. Shvetashvara Upanishad defines this Aditi as Brahmi Sthiti. Aditi, which is Trivargi or trinity of Mitra, Varun and Aryaman. Now, this Mitra, Varun and Aryaman has to be defined. Actually, Mitra, we have to go through etymological meaning of Mitra. Mitra, Pramiti, from destruction, Trayate, to defend, or me, by Mapanam, measuring, Dravati, runs, or Mid, Medyati, to make compact or bulky. So Mitra is something that protects from destruction, rotates in its axis around nucleus, which is nothing but electron. In the 10th chapter of Nirukta, it is described that Varun sent the Megha, or sky, to form Dulok, Bhulok and Antariksh. This Megha symbolizes the nuclear Megha, in which there was a room for Mitra, particles, electron, to form atom. There is another substance in that Aditi, that is Varuna. Varuna, and if you go through etymology, root vri with suffix unan, vriya varane, to choose, and in Swadigana, root vri, to cover. So as we know, proton is nucleus and electron is a nucleus, and electron revolves around nucleus. In this sense, proton, the particle of Varun, choose the electron and covers it with its bonding in the nucleus. Why I am saying this? Just because there is a hymen about Mitra and Varuna. First of all, Aditi na urushyat urushyatu Aditi sharma yachatu mata mitrasya revator yamno varunasya cha. O mother of grandeur, Mitra, Varun and Aryaman, protect us, give us peace. And about Mitra and Varuna, Samrajavasya Bhuvanasya Rajatho Mitra Varuna Vidathe Swardrisha. Deities of 41st Sukta of 2nd Mandal of Rig Veda are Mitra and Varun. It elaborates their forms that both are the particles in composition. Rajana vanabhidruha dhruve sadasyuttame sahasrasthuna asate. Anabhidruha. I mean malevolent, with same nature. Rajanau, supreme, enlightened, fundamental entities. Sahasrasthune, who have thousands of poles or particles. Uttame, foremost. Dhruve, constant eternals. Sadasi, in Mula Prakriti Aditi, Asate, situated. This hymen depicts that Mitra, Varun are malevolent, common in nature and quality, and have enormous particles in them. Word Asankhya indicates their particle form. And in another hymen, Ayam hineta Varuno ritasya mitro Rajana Aryamapo dhuhu. Rajana, supreme self-enlightened primordial substances, Mitra, Varun and Aryama, apaha dhuhu. They vibrate the apaha, the first active stage of universe of Aditi. So, and another important thing is Ayam hi neta Varunaha ritasya. As Varun is the leader of this vibration, it's supposed to be more active and thus can be called as hadrons, which are positive charged particles, and Mitra can called as leptons in cosmological parlance, which are negative charged particles. And their combination make the neutral part neutron, which is called as Vasishtha. So, as I said, the principles of cosmology are in implicit form in Vedas, and last, the origin of stars and planets. As far as origin of planet is concerned, Rig Veda describes that Earth and other planets originated from the sun. Aditi yajanishta dakshaya duhita tava kam deva anvajayanta bhadra amrita bandhavaha. And yad deva adah salilesu sanrabdha atishtata atravo nrityatamiva tivro renurapayata. When devas, means stellar objects, salile in cosmic matter, adaha became compact, susanrabdha, very strongly and splendidly, rabdhaha, tied each other by attraction, apa ayata, clearly situated, then after that, in a space, nrityatam iva, moving swirly, vah certainly, tivra renu, prithvi, earth, atishtat, established in her orbit. So, I will conclude this. Origin of universe is described in Vedas in 5 stages from Apaha to Mahabhutas, which started from its Mula Prakriti, Brahmi Avastha or Aditi. As it is well known fact that, like other science, Vedas propounds the theories of cosmology as well, but it ensconces cosmological theories, not the experimental knowledge. As we know that in the past, ancient sages hadn't such experimental tools like modern science has in present. The only source they could possibly have at the time for getting great erudite knowledge of cosmology, or for that matter any other science, was eternal divine motivation or Daivik Prerana. That's why their postulates of cosmology are incredibly impeccable, and there is no room for errors as contemporary experimental tools and hypotheses have. In hindsight, cosmology or Brahmavidya is Paravidya or transcendental science. Thus, spilling the beans of cosmology is quite impossible for the human mind with the help of physical tools. Present scientists are also admitting the fact that without attaining that transcendental science, we are hampered and unable to understand the process of origin exactly of universe. That's why today scientists are returning to the Vedas, Vedic literature, and meticulously trying to decipher those hymns or verses that propound cosmology. Thank you. If you have any questions, anybody? Come again? Aryaman, exactly. Aryaman is the radiating energy. As a Aryama, if we go through the etymology, Aryama, the root re, the root re which means to speed, root yam which means to control, to regularize, to spread. Hence, Aryaman means something that is controlled and kinetic, who governed and spread. If we scrutinize the etymological meaning of Aryaman, it seems that it is a Vikirana or radiant energy, as we know. Aryama is the synonym of Surya or light. In modern science, there are two types of radiation. First is radiation of light that transacts heat of light, and the second is cosmic radiation that controls the stellar objects and make them static. On the basis of its etymological meaning, we can say that Aryaman is Vikiran or radiant energy of both forms. It radiates light and controls the stellar objects. Rigved predicates the nature and form of Aryama in this hymen. Dakshasya vadite janmani vrate rajana mitra varuna vivasasi aturta panthaha pururatho Aryama sapta hota vishurupeshu janmasu. There in this hymen, three adjectives used for Aryaman. Aturta panthaha, sapta hota, vishu rupeshu janmasu pururatho. Aturta panthaha, root tur, to destroy, to kill, with prefix a for negative sense, so undestroyed. Panthaha means ways. Hence, this word means whose way cannot be destroyed, who is unperturbed. As we know, radiation is neutral, it cannot be perturbed in electromagnetic field. Sapta hota, rays with 7 colors. As we know, sun has 7 rays. And it can be seen by radiation, by Vikiran. And Vishurupeshu Janmasu emerges in various forms. As we know, rays of light has various forms like ultraviolet, infrared, etc. Hence, Mitra and Varun together form matter, and as they are in pair, one is aggregation of positive charged particle and another one is the form of negative charged particles. Aryaman is radiation, so it's neutral. So actually this is what you can say the assumption of what we can assume as from the Vedas, as I already said that they are in symbolic form. So we have to go through, we have to read between the lines, we have to go through these adhyatmic and adhibhautik upayas, and we have to elaborate these things minutely so that we can compare all these hymens with the principles of modern cosmology. Yes, sir. Yes. Come again, sir? Universe, nothing else, it's universe. No, there is no. Come again, sir. Oh. No, actually, I'm saying this Brahmanda in which refers universe. In fact, I have no idea Brahmanda. I mean, you are saying that those 14 lokas which consist in Brahmanda, and actually, whatever the definition of Brahmanda is in Puranic parlance or in other parlance, the origin of universe is the same. It must have to go through these 5 stages. Yes, sir.
You spoke about the origin of universe with a particular source, and which also has governing bodies, and which takes care of the office. That is the case. How do you explain calamities and disasters, which is actually um, happening in all the five elements, like Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik, and Adhyatmik also. So, do you think that these governing bodies are actually going out of order, or is there an office and authority even for the calamity also?
No, the ultimate calamity would be dissolution, the pralaya.
Ultimate, but intermediate?
And the calamities you are talking about is just a collision, is just a destruction of a particular part of universe, or for that matter of earth. So that's what you can say, the calamity which represents the destruction of particular part of earth or prithvi. So that's something which is different. I mean, that cannot be uh, compare with the ultimate calamity, that's called
That is not my
dissolution.
question. I'm not saying that it is a. I'm not saying I'm comparing. Nor I'm. That is my question either. I'm
Okay.
saying is that a kind of a disorder in the governing body which is controlling the elements and the functioning of the universe, or is a calamity factor is also having a kind of a governing body and authority who are executing this calamity?
I couldn't understand. I mean,
That means, does it have an
clarify your
office?
question.
Does it have an office? Like even the governing of this universe has an office. That everything has a controlling
Why
body.
not? It is. It is.
So, in the same way, is a calamity which is happening in the world is also having an office. Is also being governed.
Why not? Everything which is happening in this universe has to be governed from the supreme entity, from this Paramatattva, from Ishwar.
So it is not a kind of a disorder or thing going out of control. It is happening exactly as per the will of that particular governing authority.
It is. It is. Why not?
So that is what
What's
I'm
the question
saying.
about that?
No. I'm not saying whether what's the question. I'm saying, is there a reference in the scriptures in this particular regard?
Yes, there may be. I mean, there are references. Right now, I don't have those references, but there are references.
Thank you.
There are references. Yes. And कालः पचति भूतानि सर्वाण्येव सहात्मना कान्ते सपक्वस्तेनैव सहा व्यक्ते लयं व्रजेत. This already said, and this already said in various scriptures of Indian texts, of Indian sciences, the order of dissolution or the pralaya and other calamities. And in fact, this dissolution has four forms. Four types of pralaya are defined in various astrological and astronomical texts. Maybe calamity is one of them. Thank you, sir.
I would like to add only one comment to the interpretation provided by our friend Dr. Mishra. We sometimes get tempted to see all modern ideas into the ancient texts. It could be a very interesting and exciting intellectual exercise, but the caution that we must take is, are we getting these ideas from modern scientific texts and trying to read those ideas into the ancient texts and trying to equate the two? The one possible consequence of this is, suppose 50 years hence, the ideas of modern science change. Then are we going to reinterpret everything in the light of the new ideas? And then, if that is the case, interpretation goes on changing just to suit what modern scientists have discovered, in which case modern science becomes the governing body for the interpretation of ancient texts. Therefore, we must take some caution and try to see what the ancient seers themselves meant. If they indeed meant what these present-day scientists are meaning, then it is fine. It's a happy coincidence. But otherwise, we must be on our guard to see that our interpretations do not become questionable. This happened, you see, in the 19th century and in the beginning of the 20th century, when many Vedic scholars tried to see all concepts of modern science in the Vedas themselves, including, say, electricity. In fact, one scholar tried to interpret the Vedic sentence Vrishabho Roraviti as referring to a tractor that must have been in the ancient times and so on, merely because the words Vrishabho Roraviti sound like that. So we must be on our guard. I'm not saying that this kind of approach is wrong, but I must only say that this must be done with great caution. This is only comment.